Do y'all really want to know why the Federal Reserve Bank is taking so long to lower these interest rates? It's because the banks as a total can lose up to $120 billion a year when they lower interest rates by 1%. So now, after this, you're going to get a better understanding of what's really going on and why they're keeping these interest rates up. They pretty much trying to drive you into homelessness. They want you on the side of the road. They want people to lose their houses. They want people to get evicted. They want people to get foreclosed on. But you remember last year during the election, they lowered interest rates. They lowered the federal interest rates before the election. But now, since Trump is in office, they act like it's going to cause more inflation. Or we're going to wait to see what the terrorists going to do before we decide to lower interest rates. But they lowered it during the election time just to help the Democrats win the election. I'm not saying that I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not saying that I'm a Democrat. I'm neutral. But I'm just going to call it like I see it. But interest rates for houses, they set a 7%. 7% interest rate. So if you bought a house for $250K, which is a crack house in these days, if you buy a house for $250K in a decent state, you pretty much got a fixer-upper house. You got a house that's pretty much about to fall apart. So if you buy a $250 house, $250,000 house at a 7% interest rate, your mortgage payment is going to be equivalent to paying for a $500,000 house. And you wonder why the people who just bought a house within the past 2 years are having a hard time, or probably going to lose their house because they can't pay the mortgage, because they're paying double for a house that's not even worth its price. It's worth half of what it is, simply because of the interest rates. And people don't understand, when you make those mortgage payments, the majority of that payment is not even going towards principal. For example, if you got a $2,000 mortgage payment, only $300 of that is going to principal. The other $1,700 is going to interest rate. Most of it's going to go to the interest rates, meaning it's going to the bank. That's the bank's profit for lending you the money. And the rest is going to go on taxes. And then the rest is going to go on insurance. So 80%, around 80% of your mortgage payment is not even going towards principal. And that's why it takes 30 years to pay off a house. If you bought a house, for example, if you bought a house at a 0% interest rate, it made that same monthly payment, your house would be paid off in 7 years, versus 30 years. So you're pretty much getting robbed by owning a house if it's not bought correctly. It's different if you buy investment property and you can run an income or get an immediate return on your money. That's different. But buying a house in general, and you actually believe it's an investment, it's actually not an investment. By the time you pay that interest for 30 years, you just paid double for your house. So that's not an investment. You actually lost money. And you can say, oh, but it increased in value. The way these houses increased and doubled, now a $200,000 house is $500K. Do you really think in 30 years that $500K is going to be over $1 million? No, we pretty much at the peak of the market right now. The prices are not going down, but the houses ain't selling as fast neither. So this right here is just the start of the peak of the market. The housing market haven't necessarily crashed yet. People just don't got money to buy houses. People can't afford the houses at the prices. But it's going to end up leading to the market crash because people can't sell their houses. And people don't have the money to buy houses. So your house going to either sit on the market for a long time before it sells, or you're just going to have to move back in it and and rent it out and just keep it rented out until you can actually sell it. But either scenario is bad. So don't be fooled out here and let anybody tell you it's a good investment to buy a house. Oh, you should buy a house. People out here listening to real estate agents online telling people, oh, you should still buy a house. You should still buy a house. Of course they're going to tell you to still buy a house. Because the real estate agents don't make money if they can't sell houses. So be careful with listening to every real estate agent. They want you buying these houses. They want you buying these houses at a 7% interest rate. You're going to stay in this house 1 or 2 years and you're going to have to sell it because you're going broke. The Federal Reserve Bank don't want to lower interest rates because they fear inflation is going to get higher. Well, if inflation is going to get higher, why the hell are you going to continue to keep rates high and people that's going to get more and more broke? You're not helping people by keeping the rates up. You're actually making them more poor. Like, it just don't make sense. Them keeping the rates up, it actually is not for you. It's for the banks can keep getting paid. Because again, every time they raise the interest rates 1%, the total national banking market. Dude, why is your car so loud? This dude running around in a loud Hyundai Sonata. Like, why would you make a Sonata loud? But back to what I was saying. When the banks raise interest rates 1%, all the banks in the nation combined can make up to $120 billion. And you see why they ain't rushing to lower these rates. Greed. The banks are greedy. It's all greediness, and they're trying to use this Trump terror stuff as an excuse to keep the rates high. Like, you was going to keep these rates high regardless. But they finally found somebody to blame it on. Even though the tariffs are not even causing inflation that much. If you pay attention to CPI and inflation reports, you'll see that the tariffs haven't had a major effect on inflation. So, guys, be careful. Be careful with buying a house. Make sure you can actually afford it if you buy it. And at the same time, even if you can afford it, you're overpaying for it because of the interest rates. So if you ain't broke by the time the interest rates go down, yes, buy a house when the interest rates go down. They need to be at least under 5% interest rate. But guess what? Again, by that time, people are going to be broke. You got to continue to rent, or you got to continue to go live with your parents or rent a room out. With that being said, I'm out.